Now we're at His Holiness's first stop in Hawaii. We've taught several lessons before. Today is chased by a rainbow. This should also be in the photos, a rainbow that kept chasing His Holiness. That day when we went there, when the volcano was erupting, there are photos of His Holiness and several of us. At that time, the wind was still quite strong. Along the southeastern shore of the island of Hawaii, between Nechung Dorje, Drayang Ling and the Pacific Ocean, there is a very active volcano. It is located at Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. In the afternoon, His Holiness went there to visit. When passing by some valleys, the valleys he passed through, the traces of past volcanic eruptions were especially obvious. In some places, those craters are still very visible now. The locals said that here, there were volcanic eruptions decades ago. At that time they told us 50 years, but when we checked later there seemed to be various different time periods, so here we say decades. They also showed us the ferocious imprint of the magma's solidification. It seemed like the rocks had all been perforated by the magma. The traces left on many rocks were particularly shocking. After arriving at the park, we went to the visitor center and watched some documentary films about volcanic eruptions in Hawaii. At that time, His Holiness was very interested. They were introducing things to His Holiness on the side. It was roughly, in my impression, it seemed close to about an hour. There were several different documentaries. We learned about some local history. Afterward, we drove to the seashore. This was the first time we got so close to the boundless Pacific Ocean, because we had crossed the Pacific before, that's how we described it. But actually, I also mentioned later that I had been to see the Indian Ocean with His Holiness before. As for the Pacific, this time should count as this. Then in Boston, we saw the Atlantic Ocean, and also in Singapore. In Singapore, we also saw the sea, but at this time, Khenpo Tsultrim Lodro and I were playing around. His Holiness at that time went to the place where we took photos once, but we'll see this later. From a distance, we could see the place where the lava flowed into the ocean. The water in that area was boiling and bubbling with dense steam. In these aspects, His Holiness, you can see a photo of His Holiness sitting alone. That place in the distance with smoke can also be seen. We were told that even around that hot spot in the water, with temperatures of several hundred degrees, there were oceanic creatures living. At that time, His Holiness also seemed to find it very rare. Amazed, he said, how inconceivable the karma of sentient beings is. Generally, we'd burn our hands in boiling water, and most sentient beings are like this too, but they keep living there. He also talked about some other things, but I don't remember very clearly, so I haven't described it in great detail. Then on our way back, an amazing thing happened. A rainbow followed His Holiness just like a shadow. Wherever his car moved, we went a long way, and it kept following there. Hawaii is known as the Rainbow State, so it is not unusual to see rainbows there. There's nothing particularly strange about that. But this rainbow was really different, so for a very long stretch of road, it seemed to chase after Rinpoche. Not only did I remember this, when I interviewed Miguel last time, he also remembered that under the rainbow, we specifically stopped the car to take photos. Now 30 years have passed, and I still remember it very clearly. Moreover, those photos can still be dug up now. So at that time, we felt it was very rare. It kept following His Holiness faithfully. So His Holiness stopped and sat down by the road, and with that rainbow as the background, took a picture. After a while, the rainbow gradually disappeared. It seemed at that time that His Holiness kept reciting something silently, but we generally didn't dare to ask. I just paid close attention and thought to myself, not sure if it had something to do with Pele, the Hawaiian goddess of volcanoes and fire. Was she appearing in the form of a rainbow? Because on the first day His Holiness came, he also talked about the rainbow, saying something related to her as an explanation. I don't know, I didn't ask. In any case, there was such a rather rare occurrence here. Then next is left a pair of shoes. As Khenpo Jigme Phuntsok departed from the land of Tibet, I had packed some light summer clothes, but the fur boots His Holiness wore on his feet were actually worn continuously. These shoes, and there are several other photos, including when His Holiness was with Tulku Tenzin and Acho Lama. When they were together, he was also wearing these shoes. And also when His Holiness was with, it seemed like Darim Lamo Dakini, or someone, several people often. When he was together with other great masters, he wore these shoes. Many of our Khenpos also remember quite clearly. These should be the shoes His Holiness wore for quite a long time. Now looking at them, the wear and tear is quite serious. It certainly would be too hot and cumbersome to wear these shoes all the time on this tropical island, and also very hot. So I found a chance and asked someone in the temple to take me to a shopping mall in Hilo nearby. That was... Now Miguel also understands in his heart. He said he didn't go at that time. He found another steward from their Nechung temple to accompany me. I also remember it seemed like it wasn't him, but I can't seem to remember who it was. When we entered the mall, I was amazed that there were neither glass sales counters nor salespeople. Perhaps some of you may not necessarily understand what that means, but actually at that time there were no so-called supermarkets in China at all, because at that time, when we generally bought things, there were department stores, but those counters should have salespeople. You go directly in. At that time, what surprised us was that if you go directly in, you can't even see people, just one person at the door. So what if you tucked these things into your pocket? What would happen? At that time, because where we were, there were no such so-called supermarkets at all. Now there might even be unmanned supermarkets, various kinds. Even the salesperson at the door is not needed. You just scan your face directly, and then from Alipay the money is directly deducted. At that time, there was nothing like that at all. We found it particularly rare. It was also a case of being ignorant, though indeed there was nothing like that domestically. At that time, it felt really rare. All the goods were neatly displayed within customers' reach, so I could freely pick up anything I felt interested in. Then, after making selections, I bought a pair of sturdy leather sandals. It was priced at over $70, almost 800 RMB at that time. Although they were quite pricey, His Holiness' feet were too large to fit comfortably, even in the largest size shoes in China. No matter what, they were often not suitable. But this time, since Americans are generally taller, what I bought, when we tried it after returning, His Holiness's feet fit perfectly. I was very glad to get him a pair of well-fitting shoes in America. After we got back, His Holiness tried them on, and they turned out to be a perfect fit and comfortable. Later, His Holiness wore them during our entire trip, and even after we returned to the land of Tibet for a while, he would still wear these sandals. Later, I remember it seemed like when we went to, was it Singapore? He also wore these. In any case, I later discovered that these sandals are a brand. They're still being sold now, and many people buy them. After this book comes out, there might be such a thing. They were worn by His Holiness on many occasions throughout his life. I don't know if they still exist now, but had never broken down. When we left Hawaii, His Holiness' Tibetan leather boots were left at Nechung Dorje Drayang Ling. The resident Lama, Lob Sangdonden, held them as a treasure. He wrapped them in a piece of yellow cloth and locked them in a cabinet, and only showed them to a couple of fortunate people. So far, this pair of shoes has been preserved on this island for almost 30 years. This year should be exactly 30 years. Until recent years, I entrusted a person to try to get them back with an amount of donations for the temple, but they were not very willing to accept money. Then after multiple attempts, I also helped them with some connections. In the end, they felt, because their old Lama had returned there and already passed away, and now a new Lama hasn't come yet. Now there are some lay practitioners. Some are very good, including Miguel and his group. It's been over 30 years and he's still presiding over this practice center, continuing like this. But in the end, they felt that perhaps handing them over to us would also be good. After multiple attempts, the people in charge of the temple finally agreed. Now this pair of shoes is placed at Domang Monastery. Domang Monastery has a special memorial hall for His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche. Inside there are several of His Holiness's robes, including the tape recorder used when teaching Dharma outside from when he went out at that time. There are some loudspeakers, microphones. In any case, many things with blessings are placed there. If you go there in the future, these shoes have already been in Hawaii for 30 years placed there. Some people say these shoes should be placed there, but if they're placed there, we don't know if the people later will. Is that okay? Then let's just explain what's below. These were kept for 30 years. Later I entrusted someone to ask, and yes, they already agreed. In 2017, I was invited by some universities and monasteries in Hawaii to give Dharma lectures. That time I wished to revisit Nechung Dorje Drayang Ling. However, due to some reasons, my itinerary to travel abroad that year had to be cancelled, so I did not make it in the end. Let's end here.
Kirgana jirano chupai chupun solen dra jo bandangara badna sodargye bandangara badna sodargye bandangara badna sodargye